Hello everyone, welcome back to Chandu EDU. This is video 4 of my data analytics journey. Please subscribe to the channel and let's get started. If you're serious about becoming a data analyst, don't skip this video. The concept you'll learn today is asked in interviews and used in real-world projects.
Here is what you will master in today's session. We'll learn how data is classified, understand the difference between structured, semi-structured, and unstructured data, and explore time-based and source-based data types. You'll also discover primary versus secondary data sensitivity, PII, data ethics, data bias, and India's DPDP Act 2023. By the end of this video, you'll have a complete foundation that every aspiring data analyst should know. Let's get started. Now let's understand how we can classify data. Data can be viewed and organized in different ways depending on the purpose of analysis. Instead of looking at data from just one perspective, we can understand it through multiple lenses. We can classify data by its structure, by the time it represents, by its source, by its sensitivity, and by ethics and privacy considerations. Each of these classifications helps us understand data from a different point of view. In the next few sections, we'll explore each one by one, and see how understanding these classifications helps us analyze data better and make smarter, data-driven decisions. Let me ask you a simple question. If you have data, can you directly analyze it? Not really. Before we store it, process it, or analyze it, we first need to understand its structure. Why is that so important? Because the structure of data decides how we collect it, organize it, store it, and finally extract meaningful insights from it. Once we know the structure, we can choose the right database, use the right tools, analyze data more accurately, protect sensitive information, make better business decisions, and even save time and cost. In short, understanding data structure is the foundation of effective data analytics. Now let's see the different types of data structures and why each one is used. Now let us understand what structured data is. Structured data is data that is organized in rows and columns, which makes it very easy to store, search, and analyze. Because everything follows a fixed format, computers can quickly find and process the information. This is why structured data is commonly stored in tables and is very easy to query. Some common examples are bank records, student mark sheets, e-commerce orders, and employee attendance. To work with this type of data, professionals mostly use Microsoft Excel, SQL databases, and Power BI. Since most business data is structured, this is the first and most important type of data every aspiring data analyst should master. Now let's understand semi-structured data. Imagine you receive an email or open a website. The data is organized, but not in a perfect table that exactly what semi-structured data is. It does not follow rows and columns, but it uses tags, keys, or labels to keep everything organized. Because of this, it is more flexible than structured data and easier to process than unstructured data. Common examples include emails, JSON files, XML files, and API responses. This type of data is widely used in web applications, APIs, and cloud services. In the next slide, you will see the third and most challenging type of data, which almost every company deals with every single day. Now let us understand unstructured data. Think about the photos in your phone, the videos you watch, and the voice messages you send. Every day, you create this type of data. It does not have a fixed format, and it cannot be stored in rows and columns. That is why we call it unstructured data. Because of this, it is harder to search and analyze directly. Common examples include images, videos, voice recordings, social media posts, product reviews, and PDF documents. In fact, almost 90% of the world's data is unstructured. This is why AI and machine learning are so important. They help us understand and analyze this huge amount of unstructured data. We have already learned all three types of data, so now let us compare them one by one. First, look at the structure. Structured data follows a fixed format. Semi-structured data has a partial structure, while unstructured data has no fixed structure. Next, look at the format. Structured data is stored in rows and columns. Semi-structured data uses tags and keys, while unstructured data can be images, videos, audio files, documents, or social media posts. Now think about flexibility. Structured data is the least flexible. Semi-structured data is moderately flexible, and unstructured data is the most. We have seen how data can be classified by its structure, but data can also be classified based on time. In simple words, we look at how data is collected over a period. There are three main types: cross-sectional data, time series data, and panel data. Each type answers a different business question and is used in different real-world situations. Let us understand each one with simple examples. Imagine you want to compare the heights of 500 students, but you record their heights only once on the 1st of January January. This is called cross-sectional data. The data is collected from many different individuals, but at a single point in time. That is why it is also called a snapshot of a situation. It helps us compare many people or objects on the same date. In this example, we have many students, but only one date. That is the easiest way to remember cross-sectional data. Many subjects, one point in time. Now imagine we are not comparing many people on one day. Instead, we are tracking the same subject again and again over different dates. This is called time series data. Here the focus is one subject, but many time periods. For example, daily stock prices, daily temperature, monthly sales, or website visitors. By observing the same data over time, we can identify trends, patterns, and changes. The easiest way to remember time series data is one subject, many dates. Now, let's combine both concepts together. Imagine we record the weights of 500 students every month for 1 year. This is called panel data, also known as data collected over multiple time periods from multiple subjects. We track many students across many different dates. In simple words, panel data combines cross-sectional data and time series data. Because it follows many subjects over many time periods, it provides deeper insights and is widely used in business analytics, healthcare, economics, and machine learning. The easiest way to remember it is many subjects, many dates, panel data. Data can also be classified based on its source, which means where the data comes from. There are two types of data sources. The first is primary data, and the second is secondary data. In the next few slides, we will understand what primary data is, and then we will learn about secondary data with simple examples so that the difference becomes very easy to remember. Primary data is the original data collected directly by a researcher or an organization for a specific purpose. Since it comes straight from the source, it is first-hand, highly relevant, and more reliable for a particular study. Common examples include customer surveys, interviews, questionnaires, and app usage data collected by a company. In simple words, if you collect the data yourself, it is called primary data. Secondary data is information that has already been collected by someone else and is reused for analysis. Since it is already available, it saves both time and money and is useful for research and comparison. Common examples include government census data, RBI reports, Kaggle datasets, research papers, and World Bank report. In simple words, if you use data collected by someone else, it is called secondary data. The difference between primary data and secondary data. Primary data is first-hand information that you collect yourself through surveys, interviews, observations, or experiments. Since it is original, it takes more time, effort, and money to collect. On the other hand, secondary data is already collected by someone else. It is reused from sources like census reports, research papers, government websites, or platforms like Kaggle. It is faster and less expensive to use. Here's a simple trick to remember. If you collect the data, it's primary. If someone else collected it, it's secondary. Not all data carries the same level of risk. Some information is harmless, while other information can seriously affect a person's privacy if it gets leaked. That's why data is divided into different sensitivity levels. Low sensitivity data includes information like app version, device model, and screen brightness. Medium sensitivity data includes age and city. High sensitivity data includes health records, salary, live location, financial details, and personal photos, which require the highest level of protection. Remember this key point. Data type tells us what the data is, while data sensitivity tells us how carefully that data must be protected. The difference between PII and sensitive personal data. PII, personally identifiable information, is any information that can identify a person. Examples include your name, phone number, email address, home address, Aadhaar or PAN number, and even your photograph. On the other hand, sensitive personal data is information that can cause serious harm if it is exposed. This includes medical records, financial information, biometric data, live location, and religion. Here's an easy trick to remember. PII identifies a person, while sensitive personal data requires a much higher level of protection because it can seriously impact a person's privacy or safety. Data ethics means data ethics is all about collecting, storing, analyzing, and sharing data in a fair, transparent, and secure way. But why is it so important? It protects user privacy by keeping personal information safe. It builds trust because people know their data is being handled responsibly, prevents the misuse of data for harmful or unethical purposes, and finally, it supports responsible decision-making, leading to fairer outcomes for everyone. Remember, just because something is legal doesn't always mean it is ethical. Why does data ethics matter? Because poor handling of data can lead to serious consequences. consequences. It can result in data breaches that expose millions of users, identity theft where personal information is stolen and misused, biased AI models that produce unfair decisions, privacy violations through unauthorized access to personal data, and even a loss of customer trust in organizations. The key message is simple. Behind every row of data is a real person. A responsible data analyst doesn't just the data, they also protect the people behind it. Let's understand data bias. Data bias happens when the data is incomplete, unbalanced, or influenced by personal or societal assumptions. As a result, it can lead to unfair or inaccurate conclusions and decisions. For example, if a survey includes responses from only one group of people, the results may not represent the entire population. That's why every data analyst should always question the data before drawing conclusions. Remember this simple rule: bias in data leads to bias in decisions. Let's look at the DPDP Act 2023, which stands for the Digital Personal Data Protection Act 2023. This is India's law to protect your digital personal data and privacy. It gives individuals more control over how their personal data is collected and used. It also sets clear responsibilities for companies that handle personal data and introduces penalties for data misuse and data breaches. In simple words, the DPDP Act is all about one idea: your data. It's an import towards making India's digital world safer and more secure. Thank you for watching till the end. Please hit the subscribe button and share this video as much as you can. Every subscribe